Yeah, we're doing some rear fender stuff on 2K. I just pulled off the tailpiece that was on it for your brake light, tail light, license plate. And it looks like what's on there is an OEM fender. It's got the stickers on it, which says, for your protection, always wear your helmet while riding. Operator only, no passengers. Read the owner's manual carefully. Otherwise, you're looking for trouble. It also says off-road use only. This vehicle is designed and manufactured for off-road use only. It does not conform to federal motor vehicle safety standards. And operation on public streets, roads, or highways is illegal. In other words, if you take this on the street, you're asking for trouble. It also has the emission control information, which is very valuable to those that are making their XR street legal, even though it's not designed for it, and it's nothing but trouble on the street. And that sticker says, Vehicle Emission Control Information, Honda Motor Company Limited. Engine Family Identification WHN XXO. And then there's a spot here that's hard to read. It says 59 CAA. That's got to do with the fact that this has California emission controls on it. Displacement 591 cubic centimeters. Tune-up specification, read the owner's manual for more details in parentheses. Idle speed 1300 RPMs plus or minus 100. It's jacked up where the operating temperature would be. Fast idle speed, not applicable. Ignition timing, again, messed up. Idle mixture setting, no adjustment. California emission carburetors did not have an idle screw adjustment. All other XRs did, but the ones with the California emission controls did not have it. It's permanently set. Valve lash, intake 10 millimeter, exhaust 10 millimeter. Now that's cold, don't do it while it's hot. Fuel, gasoline 98 RON MIN. Ron mixture, I don't know. See owner's manual for gasolines containing alcohol. Lubricant, they want you to use SAE 1040 SF or SG grade. Spark plug and gap. Plug type NGK DPR 8EA-9 or equivalent. You can use any brand. It's got to be equivalent though. The gap is 0.8 or 0.9 millimeters. This vehicle meets 1997 California regulations for off-road motorcycles and ATVs.
You take this on the street, you're asking for trouble.
Well, here we go with 2K. Everything's great except for I have stalled. I have just about everything hooked up front, and it's kind of mocked up. There's some adjustments I have to make. I can bundle this all up into a nice looking setup. However, I've run out of male bullet connectors, and I'm waiting on that shipment. But I'm afraid we're stalled out a little bit. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the fender, the rear fender for 2K. It's an OEM fender, so it's got this little clip to help hold the wire. Compared to a UFO fender, it's got a piece of steel here where it goes through to mount to the frame. You don't get that with a UFO fender. Doesn't have the two holes down here because it's an XR fender, not a 650L fender. Two holes, like you see in a UFO fender. This one's UFO. No, this was 650L. It didn't come with those steel bushings. I guess I'm supposed to supply those. It's an OEM fender and it has the holes for the 650L taillight. I see it's made in Italy. They must be having, Honda must be having somebody else make their fenders. Or maybe that's a UFO fender. Maybe that's a UFO fender. And the rear fender I have on Nikki was the 650L. And this is a Western Power Sports taillight. They used to have a license plate lighting clear area here that they don't have anymore. And they're made in China, and they're really cheap. And you got to take the whole thing off if you need to replace the bulb. I've decided I want to go with something that's going to be more reflective, and I'm going to mount the same unit that came on the bike, a Cerbis. It's all plastic too. I feel comfortable with that. And then there's the thing about turn signals. If you look at the side here, it's on an angle. Most people mount their turn signals there. And then you've got your turn signal sticking out in a Y fashion that just looks hokey if you ask me. So that's one reason I took this off, to take a look. I decided I'm gonna mount turn signals right here. And I was going round and round as to what turn signals I was gonna use, because I can't have LED turn signals. However, through tests, I found out that my incandescent bulb turn signals on the front will work properly with having LEDs on the rear. So we're gonna mount these on the rear. Did you want to see how that gets done? Well then, stick with the video, and here we go. Okay, so here is the unit in question. Nicely cleaned up, got all the dirt off it, but I didn't show you that. And for those of you that want, I could put together a video just cleaning things. I've got some paint that's peeling. I could add that in too. So this isn't the sturdiest thing in the world, but it has integrity. And there's a limited amount of space in here. The penetration for the turn signal is going to be about there. So I need to kind of measure that out and see. Also, we just need to be approximately a 1/4 inch up off of the fender, or the underside of this housing. Let's make a mark and then figure out just exactly where that is. 2 3/16. 2 1/4 would work. 5/8 of an inch up. Somebody's gonna have to drill a hole. As a matter of fact, whoever does this drilling is going to have to drill 2 holes. I'm going to have a right and a left side turn signal, not just one. That's only plastic. This must be a dull bit. So it turns out I'm going to have a drill bit about 25/64. That's as tight as you can get on it around this, according to my eye. And here's a test of it, although there is a bunch of slag from the plastic which might be interfering, but this will, oh yeah, that's nice. That is so nice. It's a good setup, in other words. And the first thing to go through is the wires. You feed them through and pull all the slack until you get the turn signal all the way buttoned up against the housing here. And then you want to be cognizant of the position you're in. You want these to point backwards so that the people behind you can tell that you're about to make a turn. If you point them frontwards, they're going to have a hard time deciphering just what your plans are. And you're going to want to put on one on the right and one on the left, because one's going to be the right turn signal, the other one will be the left turn signal. You don't put the left turn signal on the right side. Once again, people will have a hard time trying to figure out what you're really doing. So you feed the wires through the nut, and you tighten the nut up on the stem. You can't just leave it loose. You'll have to get a wrench out for this. I'm going to go ahead and use the surface of the tail light as my reference point as I tighten these up. Take a look at the surface of the tail light and the direction of the flat surface on my signal. I'll try to hold this there and make my tightening. Now as you tighten these down, there's a certain point where the more you tighten it, the more this rubber area here is going to squish out. And I know from past experience that that mushrooming out will kind of crack over time. So you want to hold this enough. You might see a little bit of squish here. You want to hold it enough so it doesn't turn after it's installed. See, now I've even got more squish. That's about where I feel comfortable. I could tighten that further and it would squish more, but I don't necessarily want that. Both sides need to be tight. You want to have them both oriented the same as each other. Okay, I feel good about that. Now, as you look at my bike from the rear, I still do have a little bit of this hiked up effect, but it's not too bad. Not like if I had mounted these on the fender. Another real good plus about this particular mounting location is instead of penetrating the fender and having the wires exposed for sticks and dirt and mud and everything, and the stem of the turn signal sticking through under the fender, right up under there, it's all within the housing. And I'm going to be able to use the groove. I'm going to be able to run those wires in the groove. So coming out of the housing, underneath my bag, through the clip, and I'm going to take it through this little area here. A lot of bikes you'll see somebody's done, they've got it running on the outside. There's no reason why you can't tuck your wires here, and they'll emanate right alongside your frame, and there's a holder right about here on the frame, and you can use nylon wire tie straps and stuff to even secure your wiring further. So these LED lights I've chosen, they are bendable. They bend pretty much almost to a 90-degree angle. When and if I fall over on this bike, these are not going to be busted up. I could have put on something shorter. For instance, I had in mind to use this kind, but I was testing them out and they get extremely hot. Stock fender, even an aftermarket fender, there's a place here for a rubber grommet which has a hole in it similar to this, but it's got a flat side to it so that your mounting of whatever kind of tail light you have can sit down on here without the interference of the round part sticking up. That being said, when I was doing my last fender, I couldn't find any of those, and I just took one of these same ones here and cut it. It's got to be cut both front and rear. This is the setup now that we're going to have on the fender. Can you see that okay in the picture here? That's what it's going to look like. Now, there's some other modifications I'm going to do to what they've got going here right now. The original license plate for this Italian product had basically a self-tapping screw go in to hold your license plate on, which is all fine for holding it on, but anybody can come, even with a pocket knife or a coin almost, and steal your license plate while you're not watching. What we're going to have is a bit of drilling out of those holes that are already there, and I've bought some stainless steel mounting stuff. If you're going to come and try to take my plate, you're going to have, here's a warning for all you thieves out there, you're going to have an Allen wrench in your pocket of the right size. So when this is all put on, that's going to look beautiful. The only thing is I have to make sure I'm centering it as I tighten it down, otherwise it's going to look offset slightly. Alright, so 6mm Allen screw. These holes must be drilled out to accommodate that. Let's see what we can do. As you drill through here, you might walk to one side or the other, and if that happens, I'm going to have to hog out the hole a bit in order to make it so that everything is centered and the bolts fit through the license plate itself real nicely. So here we go. Fingers crossed, huh? Well, hopefully that's going to be enough. I'll get a better look at it once I clean the slag off. Bunch of slag on here. Let's see if we can do something about that. You know, this razor blade may work better than my X-Acto knife. for this application. At least for the initial flush surface of it. Get some of that off of there. I think I'm still going to need the X-Acto knife to clean the hole up inside beyond the flush surface. I don't want the slag on the front or the back. Let's find out what a license plate looks like on there. There might be enough play in the fact that we're going through 1/4-inch holes with only a 6mm screw to where it's got all the play I need. Okay, so then now the question is, can you slide this over a bit? I can see right now it's sticking out a bit on the right, but it sticks out on the left too. I just want it to be concentric, and I can't get it over enough. Can't get it to slide over enough. Alright, stand by, I'll go take care of that. Okay, through the magic of stop and go video recording, I think I've got it about where I want it. I went ahead and made those a little more slotted, and I cleaned them up while you weren't watching. My next concern is, did I rise up higher than the original hole to where this is going to look funny here? 1/16 over 3/4, so that's 11/16, and this is a 1/16 further, so I'm not straight. But, so now the question is, can you get straight with maneuverability? I'm still at 7/8 there, and I'm shy of 7/8 here, so it isn't straight. Now these need to come down a bit, and I just don't have enough play in the holes in the plate to make it so. Right at 7/8, and that's 11/16. No, that would be 13/16 right there. So this has got to go up, that's got to go down, or all of the above, or a little bit of each, or all in one. We'll see. But I'm not done making these holes right. I can see that one, as I was slotting it out, it went up. This one's up too, so I probably need to drop this side. I can do it. Stand by. I won't let you watch something that looks good. You know, I just couldn't live with myself if I found out that somebody was laughing at me as they rode behind me. That guy mounted his license plate crooked. Look, that guy's not straight. All of that. I can't have any of it. I just want to seal up these openings in the rear fender so that mud and dirt and mud water doesn't get up inside the taillight housing from the fender. Let's do that now. Here you've got your holes for the OEM single filament taillight, which don't get used with the Acerbis housing. And then there's 2 holes here for I don't know what, but those are locations that mud and water can get up into your area here, and it drips down and it's a big ugly mess. So let's take care of that now. Stainless steel bolts, washers, and you're all set. Then when it comes to these 2 holes, I don't know, I can't recall exactly what those are for, but handy to have red high temperature silicone in case your fender gets hot. Let's go ahead and apply silicone top and bottom in order to seal that up. We're fixing things up even better than it was before on the old decommissioned 1991 Honda. I need to find some beauty caps to cover those holes. And let's get this put back together. It does have a rubber gasket on the lens itself. kind of like a sheet metal or a wood screw going into plastic. Got to be careful about that. You don't want to lose a screw, yet you don't want to strip it out either. You hook this up to power and it flashes without a flasher. Have you seen that? Here's one signal just all by itself. No flasher involved, single unit here. Now they're a little fast. Now there's your brake light, running light. Looking good. Okay. Fellow dirt riders and YouTube enthusiasts, here's where we're at now. I have the taillight housing mocked up onto the fender, and we've got our turn signal wires and our brake light, tail light ground. These are all going to run through underneath the bag, hang a left here, and head on towards my battery and stuff. Now, the tail light, brake light, ground are not quite long enough, and I might need some extensions to fit with what I've got going. Certainly the turn signals aren't long enough, and I'm going to have to extend them. The sheathing for these slim little wires is somewhat flaky. They need to be extended so that they'll fit back near the air box. I'm mocking this up to see how well things fit within the groove here. If I extend these nicely and close them down with a tighter shrink wrap, I think everything's going to be wonderful right here. I'm going to have these wires up top. They're not going to be emanating from a stem underneath. I don't have to run wires where they're vulnerable to brush, sticks, and washing, scrubbing, and so on and so forth. So I think that's all really good, and this is a good way to go. For now, right now, I'm going to go ahead and extend all of these wires. I think the best way is to permanently solder them to the wires I've chosen, and we'll do that next. So we know we have to make some modifications to the existing wires on the turn signals for the rear. Not only are they too short, but most all of these aftermarket turn signals you can get at stores and on eBay and such, they have a smaller terminal. I'm using larger terminals, which these wouldn't jive with, so they would not work with my setup. Right now, I'm just going to lengthen the wires, and if I had to figure how much I need, I'm going to add just a little more than the tail light and brake light assembly. So I'm going to wrap these two wires around each other and then solder. It's going to need a ground for that side. In the end, I want these to be as small as possible of a connection. I'm going to put a small piece of shrink wrap over each one. So you don't want to cold solder this. You want to make sure it absorbs into the wires all the way. So you want to heat your wires up first, being cognizant of your sheathing on the wire that you're not over melting that. So you want to heat up your wire, and you know it's ready to go when the solder begins to melt on the wire itself. And that way it'll draw all the way through to the heat source underneath. That one I kind of overheated a little bit. I saw the sheathing start to melt, but that'll be all right. All of these need to be individually shrink wrapped. The ground doesn't matter quite as much. You could avoid shrink wrapping that, I guess. But to be safe that it never can make contact with the positive wire, let's shrink wrap that. The smallest shrink wrap tubing I have in long lengths is 11/16. I know I need to go somewhere out to about here, but we don't know just how much. Let's go as far as a little bit past the solder joint. Okay, I want to show you what I ended up with here. My shrink wrap on the end of the threads of the turn signal tends to want to come off easily if you're jostling the wires. So I've got a nylon tie strap there to help hold that on. Strain relief to hold these wires together. Right here is where they're going to bundle through and exit underneath the fender. You know, I really feel comfortable about these turn signals lasting a lifetime. As far as the turn signals go, like I say, they're bendable. They can make almost a 90-degree turn. I had these turn signals on hand, and I'm gonna go ahead and get another set just to have on hand because Nikki uses them. That way, if I ever need one or if I end up doing another project, I'm planning on using them again. They're really cool. Now that I have the wires all stubbed out, you might say, we can go ahead and mount the tail light without having to get back into it again. And the whole idea is to get all of these wires in the groove once again and going under the bag. Okay, there's your tail light housing, turn signals, license plate holder. What I like about it is now I'm going to have a nice license plate light. Barely fits down in there. Just need to make sure that we're not crossed over, and it'll be sufficient. I can't put a bag on yet, but I can put the fender on. There's been too many rides to count, so I quit counting. And I got a lot of bikes, but it's not too many to count. This one, 2K, it's time to put this rear fender on here. Now there's some shrink wrap needed here still, but I don't know the length yet that I have to use. It's possible that the hookup between the Baja Designs harness from up front is long enough for me to do my work and stuff it all in right here. It's possible that I need to lengthen the turn signals and emanate right along the frame here. There's room for it, believe me. That's the best setup you could have. There won't be any wires sticking out for brush to hit on. And another big plus is we're totally leaving. I tell you, there's room for it. Well, sorta. Anyway, the end result is like that. And we're totally leaving the rear grip rail area here. There's not many places to grip when you have to lift your bike or move it. And we're leaving a good handhold here. That's why it's good not to have signals there as well. So, there you go. That's how the fender's gonna look on there. Bag on there. Gotta finish wrapping this stuff up. And the wiring's not done, so can't do that yet. I'll get delivery in another 2 days at the end of the day when the USPS does their job. Alright, so that's that. Looks good, huh?